believes in the value of taking breaks once in a while. For her, this process helps us evaluate and align our action towards our greater goal. So, Carmi, welcome to the show called Self-Made. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's nice to see you again.
Yeah, we miss you here in Philippines. Looking forward to have you back.
Likewise. I hope to be back in the Philippines soon.
So, how was it in Australia? What's happening there?
So there are days, so they monitor it by state. There are 8 states and territories. There are days wherein it's almost 0 new cases.
So, what made you decided to move to Australia compared staying in Philippines?
I've lived in the Philippines most of my life, but I studied urban planning, so for my postgraduate in the UK. And then after that, I was working with my father in his company, Palafox Associates, for 15 years. But I've always wanted to see and try it out by myself first, because my first career right away was with him.
What's the big difference between being in Australia and staying in your home country?
So many differences, but so many similarities as well. So I think in terms of differences, Philippines, it's very different. I think because we tend to have bigger teams and more people to support us. For example, here I had to get used to, calling for my own appointments, commuting myself or driving. Well, actually, I haven't really driven, but commuting myself to get to a meeting. I don't have an assistant, so it's really DIY, like do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I think Australians are very good at switching off, so that's what I really value. Whereas, when it's time to work, and they're very, very efficient. Whereas if it's weekends or after work hours, people tend to respect that boundary.
So how was it like growing up from a well-known or well-off family?
So I'm very fortunate to have been blessed with the parents that I do have. The time I was born, I've had a pretty comfortable life. But at the same time, my parents themselves had simple childhood. So even if we were comfortable, they made sure they instilled in me and my brother and sister the value of, working hard, of saving money, but also in terms of helping others when we can.
Are they very strict parents?
Not so much. Maybe my mom.
So how you deal with that kind of toughness, Mom?
Now that I'm much older, I really appreciate how she really made sure that we were pretty good with saving money, for making sure we worked hard before we were rewarded. Of course, when I was younger, I didn't understand and I didn't appreciate it so much because, for example, my baon was quite small when compared to my friends, or I wasn't allowed to go out as much. I wasn't allowed to go on sleepovers until, it was late in high school already. But in hindsight, I know it was all to protect me and it was all for my my well-being and for my training as well. So now I appreciate it.
Yeah. Then what's your really biggest dream when you were young?
I remember there was a time I wanted to become a dentist even. And I passed when I applied for dentistry. I wanted to be in business. I wanted to be an economist for a bit. So I studied economics for my first degree. There was a time I wanted to be a singer. And still appreciated the training. So for a few years I was studying singing, and as my dad had suggested, it had helped because I was a very shy kid. So it helped me, with later years in terms of me having to be on stage and public speaking.
So what's your best advice then for the young generations right now, for them to be the best who they are?
I think if you have good dreams, especially if they have to do with helping people, you'd be surprised at how many people would want to help you and mentor you. So I've been very fortunate to have met, people my age or even older or even younger who are very willing to help me. So I think it's that. I think one is be passionate and show passion. It'll be easy to find people who will help and support you and mentor you. Of course, work hard and work smart as well. So it's not so much the number of hours, but make sure everything you do is aligned to your bigger dream and vision. Don't just keep saying yes. So I've learned that the hard way as well. Don't just keep saying yes. Make sure every activity, everything you spend time on, all aligns with your bigger goals.
Did you ever experience of course your dad is very successful and famous architect Filipinos, not only in Philippines but around the world. Did you ever feel insecure?
I think so. I think so because some people don't help also with their comments. Like for example, you know, when I'm starting a meeting or whatnot, people would be like, "Oh, you know, you have very big shoes to fill," or you know, it's your absolute duty to do exactly what your dad did and things like that. So it doesn't help, but at the same time, it's good to focus, you know, on what you're doing, and especially if your intentions are good. Keep focused on how supportive he actually is. Then I tend to forget about it. And also, I remind myself also that I have had my own successes, and they're based on my own, you know, my own hard work and out of my own strengths as well.
Are you considering to come back and continue that kind of dreams, your parents and your dream to really helping Filipinos, to uplift the life of Filipinos?
It never disappeared in terms of, you know, my actions towards helping the Philippines. It will probably look differently, but yeah, I'd like to do more for sure.
The millennials around the world, really the biggest concern right now is the expectation of the parent. So what's your best advice then for the children like you coming up from well off to really connect with their parents?
Perhaps what worked for me was really communicating it well. If you communicate well what your own goals and dreams and passions are, you'd be surprised. Because of course, these are our parents and they love and care for us and they want, you know, what's best for us. So as long as you communicate it well, that really helps. I know sometimes, you know, and I've gone through it with my own parents at certain points when you're not getting along well, or if you have differences in opinion, which is a good thing. We all don't have the same thoughts and opinions. But once I communicated, you know, what my point or what I was aiming for, then although it took a while in some instances, I received full support.
But how can you connect with your parents if they're very busy, that you don't like to disturb them? Because you can see them, they're all on the go all the time. So how you reach out?
Well, my mom, I think it's easier to set time with her. But then my dad, would actually make appointments to his assistant. Like it was a, you know, like a regular appointment with a time slot to make sure that I have his full attention as well.
Did you ever feel bad that you have to really book through his assistant to see him?
No, because I was always conscious that, you know, because my dad, we know that he's very nationalistic and he wants to do the best that he can for his company, for his clients, for his employees, particularly for the country as well. So yeah, so I understand, like there are many demands to his time.
From dentistry, and you went, and now you are, your background now, what you're focusing?
So I'm an urban planner. So that's the main job, so to speak. So I've been advising since I started working in 2005. So I've been advising landowners, developers, nonprofits as well on what's the best use of land to make sure that there's a good balance of social goals, environmental goals, economic goals as well. So I've been working, so I was working with Palafox Associates full-time for 15 years. For I think it was 6 years as well. I was a consultant for Senator J.V. Ejercito when he was committee chairman for land use, urban planning, and housing for the Philippine Senate. Very active as well in a nonprofit called Urban Land Institute. So I've been given the opportunity to be part of advisory panels in the US and in China. And we do work as well in the Philippines. So it's really, you know, advisory around policy or urban planning, even design. So that's really my passion.
You think investors should consider investing in our country?
Definitely, I really think so. I know we need to do better in terms of how we market our place, how we market our own people.
Okay.
But definitely, we should invest in our country. There's so much potential. We're so resource rich. Also in terms of human resources. Of course, there are a lot of challenges. But definitely, if we were to invest, always start in the Philippines.
So what we should suggest Filipinos to encourage these investors come to our country?
Well, one, I think we should be the first to share good news rather than starting sharing bad news and what doesn't work in the Philippines. We should invest more in our own people, in R&D as well. Sometimes it's easy to be discouraged. Know in your heart that you did what you can and you did your contribution as a citizen, and then just focus on that. Because when you do good, when you are a productive citizen, you're not doing it for your government. You're doing it for your own country. You're doing it for your own community.
Also, so many, like majority of good Filipinos leaving our country. So what we should do to encourage you guys, that include you, to come back and be part of building our country to a first world?
I think there are so many ways to help our own country, whether or not we're there full-time 365 days in a year or not. It's good to invest. It's good to invest as much as you can. It's good to help as well the local community. It's good to share what you know. So that's something that I love doing. So I would travel around the Philippines and teach other urban planners. You know, there's so many. So each city and town and province has an urban planner or an environmental planner, but very few of them have actually been trained in urban planning. So, you know, out of my own capacity, I would teach these government planners. So, you know, big or small, I think we should really invest. Doesn't have to cost much, but really invest our time as well.
So, Carmi, thank you so much for sharing your personal and career journey. I'm sure that you will be able to inspire so many. Thank you so much, and looking forward to see you in Manila. This is Rebecca Bustamante, and this is Self-Made.